sending another 10,000 National Guard troops to Louisiana and Mississippi by the end of the week. That will bring the total deployment to 21,000 to this battered Gulf region. And that is just part of a huge effort by this nation's government and defenses to tackle the massive problems left in this hurricane's wake. We are covering this story once again from all angles tonight, and we begin with NBC's Martin Savage, who is here with us in New Orleans. Marty, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. You're right. It was a frightening statement that came from the mayor of New Orleans today when he was pressed on how many may have died. He said a minimum hundreds, possibly thousands. But today in this city, they were focused simply on surviving. The flooding in this city is leveling off, but 80% of New Orleans is still underwater. And while the mayor wants everyone to get out of the city, people here are still trying to figure out how to leave. Already, thousands of people roam the streets in a mass migration looking for food, water, help, or just a way out.
They told us go to the Superdome. If you want to be rescued, go to the Superdome. All of a sudden, now they're telling us go to the bridge. Oh, we have very few resources. What are we supposed to do?
Among those in the confused crowd are thousands of tourists far from home, far from help.
I feel like they forgot about the 100 people that were staying in the Dauphin Orleans, and we have nowhere to go. We haven't seen any cops. We haven't seen any National Guard. We haven't heard anything.
The Superdome, which was the shelter of last resort, has become the last place anyone wants to be.
Get us out of here! We want to get out of here!
The air has gone bad. The toilets are overflowing. Tensions are rising among rival gang members inside. Things are so bad, state officials are now evacuating the evacuees.
Glad to see these buses.
Am I? This is heaven sent. Guess what? This is a blessing right here.
475 buses loading up to take these people with so little left to another way station, the Houston Astrodome, 350 miles away. Looting continued throughout the downtown area today. It isn't a game for many of these people. It's a matter of survival.
You know, you're not supposed to do that.
I know we don't, but if we're barefoot and we're walking in the water, our feet is going to get cut.
But it's still dangerous. As police search this office supply store, elsewhere, residents plunder at will. The filthy water shifts constantly, creating a hot zone for diseases.
We are gravely concerned about the potential for cholera, typhoid, and dehydrating diseases that could come as a result of the stagnant water and the conditions.
And cutting off access, leaving residents to hold up desperate messages for whoever might be watching from above. One of those flying overhead is President Bush surveying the scene from Air Force One. But the people on the ground are more interested in the Coast Guard helicopters who've come to give them a chance to live. This man finally arrives at a safe location, one more survivor in a city where so many are still waiting for a helping hand. Meanwhile, the Army Corps of Engineers says it will take weeks to pump all the water that's in New Orleans out. That's once they get the pumps going. Brian?
Martin Savage here with us tonight. Marty, thanks. And remember, at the Astrodome, at least they will have power and water and air and food. Think of the hospitals here in New Orleans. As you'd imagine, they are in perilous conditions, running on generator power, no running water, no supplies. NBC's Carl Quintanilla was on his way to try to find out what was happening at one of them when he ended up in a rescue situation himself.
This is the scene on Napoleon Avenue. A neighborhood of stately homes flooded to the front door. Choppers above us, our crew drives until we have to walk.
The water is getting too deep, and it's getting deeper. We're told there's a hospital about 6 blocks away, and we're going to try to make it there.
Each encounter gets more and more profound.
We got people in 3-story houses that's still trying to survive out in the houses.
An airboat offers to take us to the hospital, but it sinks in the maze of tight corners. We dig the boat out, and Stanley Bordelon, a volunteer who has brought 4 of his airboats to New Orleans, offers us a ride. But just as we reach the front door, we meet Terrence and Victoria Tunson, swimming up to their chins, a young married couple who say they need to find their father stranded at home.
Dad, he's trapped in a house.
Slowly, we reach their street, and it's suddenly clear this neighborhood is packed with people who never left. We finally see Victoria's father. He's built a raft out of the back door and uses it to get to our boat. So does the dog, Scoops. As we head back, we learn the hospital has no patients. They've all been airlifted. But there are 1,000 employees and family members inside waving down at us. Across Orleans Parish, 2,500 patients have been evacuated from hospitals. Finally, on dry ground, Victoria and her father are lucky. They'll try to get to family in Houston. But the hard part is all too clear. Missions like this are going to happen again and again and again. Carl Quintanilla, NBC News, New Orleans.
There is no quality of life, period, in this region tonight. And aside from journalists being waylaid to help the stranded all around this area, volunteers are showing up just to offer to help. Brittany Fullard is an EMT student from Baton Rouge. She, along with her boyfriend, Steve Woodward, a young teacher, made their way to New Orleans just to see what they could do. Here is what they experienced here today in their own words.
We came down last night. We got here at 8 o'clock. Today, she's been working in the triage, and I've been helping unload the helos as they come in. Right past those ambulances, there's a line of people. We're waiting for the buses to come back. Then we're going to get y'all on the buses and get y'all out of here. It's hell. I mean, I can't imagine what these people are going through, losing everything they have, you know, and I volunteered for a day, 2 days tops to be down here to help as best I can. There you go, buddy. They're going to go that way. You follow them. Can't even describe it. You just hope that you get these little ones. They get these little ones out and they get them to safety before any of the little ones are hurt. You know, and there's only so much you can do. You help one person and you turn around and you got to go straight to the next.
He's been going forever, 30 hours straight. But he's not gonna stop. He won't stop.
Just trying to stay busy, you know. Less time to think about it.
Brittany and Steve, two volunteers from Baton Rouge, Louisiana tonight, in their own words. Tonight, the U.S. Navy is sending 4 ships loaded with food, water, soap, and medicine. But for residents in neighboring Mississippi, those supplies can't get there fast enough. We have 2 reports from the Mississippi front tonight, beginning with NBC's Lester Holt in Gulfport. Lester, good evening to you.
Brian, good evening to you. The only thing angrier than Katrina are the thousands of hungry, tired, and thirsty that Katrina left in its wake.
A handful of stores finally opened their doors today, and the people of Gulfport were ready for them.
It's going to be very, very slow.
Along Highway 49, homeowners hearing word of an open water pipe lined up for water, possibly the only running water for miles.
We need water, we need ice. We need food.
And at Central Middle School, now an emergency shelter, a child found relief from the heat in a rain puddle. Storm refugees here ate their first hot meal in days.
Thank you very much for the food.
Hundreds huddle in dark, sweltering hallways where frustration is high and nerves raw.
FEMA is also moving supplies and equipment into the hardest hit areas as quickly as possible.
In fact, help has arrived. This morning, these National Guard troops emptied 6 truckloads of water, ice, and food to thousands of people who'd waited in line. In 4 hours, it was all gone.
Yeah, it got out of hand a little bit. A few elderly people pushed down, water taken from them.
Several hours later, a second handout proved more orderly. But what residents here don't have is reliable communications. With phone and cell service largely down, local radio tries to keep residents abreast of services and supplies. But many find themselves dependent on the rumor mill and word of mouth.
I just drove by and saw it.
And until basic services are up and running again, the people here have no choice but to go along with the flow. Lester Holt, NBC News, Gulfport, Mississippi.
This is Campbell Brown in Point Cadet, Mississippi. It is just a place on a map now. Most of the people here had little money, many elderly with no way to leave.
All of them just stayed in the point and basically just drowned.
Today, rescue teams searched house to house, looking just to recover bodies. They say there's no longer any hope of finding survivors.
Do we have resources to extract?
The local morgue is overwhelmed, and so are the people who escaped Point Cadet.
I don't know where nobody is. Nobody, not my sister, my brothers.
Darlene Nix, who barely got out with her own life, is still in shock. At a Biloxi grade school, Kayetta Robert is helping the survivors find their way.
We have a lot of people here that have not only lost people, but are not exactly sure where some of their other family members or neighbors went.
One of the people at the shelter, a 10-year-old boy. He managed to survive this wreckage, but his immediate family did not. Tonight, he's waiting, hoping someone he knows will find him. Campbell Brown, NBC News, Point Cadet, Mississippi.
In Washington tonight, even though few people around here could hear his words, President Bush tried to calm the nerves of millions of Americans, but he also cautioned this recovery is going to take years. More on that tonight from NBC's Kelly O'Donnell.
After 29 days away from Washington,
just received an update.
President Bush was back in the Rose Garden, flanked by cabinet officials to preside over a crisis destined for history.
This recovery will take a long time. This recovery will take years.
The president listed by the truckload a massive government care package to the region, including more than 5 million meals, 13 million liters of water, and 135,000 blankets.
The challenges that we face on the ground are unprecedented.
Earlier today, the route back from Texas to Washington included an Air Force One detour. Dropping to an altitude of just 2,500 feet, the president surveyed damage over Louisiana and Mississippi for 35 minutes. The president's simple priorities are difficult to achieve: saving lives, rebuilding communities. Mr. Bush will visit the region later this week. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, the White House.
Up next from here across the nation, fallout from Katrina continues at the gas pump. You may be paying over $3 a gallon for your Labor Day weekend drive. And later, how Americans are mobilizing to help the victims in any way they...
Production. That news appears to have calmed some nerves. Crude oil actually closed down today. But until that oil is turned into gasoline, there might not be enough to go around. Here's ABC's Dean Reynolds.
In Atlanta today, anxiety that the city of 400,000 people will soon run out of gas.
That's it. Tomorrow's empty. Tomorrow morning, no more gas.
Georgia's governor urged everybody to give their cars a rest.
Any of those discretionary trips or driving that can be delayed, please do that until we're over this temporary threat.
But gas worries are not confined to the South. Pump prices are skyrocketing all across the country.
It's just a half a tank and it costs $40.
As a measure of Katrina's wake, fuel prices jumped more than 50 cents overnight in Ohio, 30 cents in Maine, a quarter in Seattle. Chicago inched closer to $4 a gallon amid official concerns about price gouging.
We're going to have thousands and thousands of cars that nobody can afford to drive.
In Mobile, drivers fearing even higher spikes lined up for hours and further drained supplies in the process. And the experts say, brace yourselves.
$5 a gallon is kind of the whisper number that I'm hearing. That's kind of the worst case scenarios that we're hearing out there.
Hundreds of oil rigs are no longer extracting crude from the Gulf of Mexico. At least 8 major refineries are no longer turning the crude into gasoline. And 2 of the nation's biggest pipelines, carrying more than 2.7 million barrels of petroleum products to markets each day, have been idle this week. They say a partial resumption is the best they can hope for right now. The Colonial Pipeline, for example, runs 5,500 miles from the Gulf up the East Coast, and its power problems have affected fuel supplies for a quarter of the nation. So when might prices settle down?
This is a very complicated jigsaw puzzle we've got to put back together, and it's going to take some time.
But that's a very uncertain forecast, and uncertainty in the oil business, Charlie, is another factor that can lead to higher prices.
Dean Reynolds reporting from Chicago. And up next, importance. ABC's Mike Von Frem today found some people in Mississippi who for days had been completely cut off from the rest of the world. No phones or cell phones. They could not let anyone know they were alive. And then they found a small patch of roadway where the cell phones actually worked.
Okay, that's good. Kathy Carson has 2 daughters in Knoxville she is frantic to reach. She's one of thousands here unable to tell loved ones they made it through the storm.
It's hard. We're going to get through.
The hurricane totally destroyed the bridge to Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. It really is the ultimate irony. Standing on the edge of a bridge that now leads to nowhere is the best place to communicate with the outside world.
Keep trying me on the cell phone. Okay? All right, I love y'all.
Whether it is around the world or around the corner, everyone is desperate to phone home. Who are you waiting to talk to now? Do you mind me asking?
This is my daughter in Oxford, Mississippi.
Have you got her?
Ole Miss, huh?
You're on the phone with her now?
Yes.
In a part of the country awash in so much tragedy, this is the one spot where there is some peace of mind. When you look at how many bars do you get? I mean, do you get...
4. I'm asked. The bridge that leads nowhere helps us get somewhere.
Offering people here some pleasure in the midst of so much pain. Mike Von Fremd, ABC News, Bay St. Louis.
And that is World News Tonight. Later this evening, ABC News will broadcast a special...
letting you come live on us. Officials have asked for assistance from anyone with a boat. They estimate that thousands of people may be stranded, running out of food and water. This young mother and her baby had to be rescued by a boat after she evacuated to a hotel and then went into labor.
What are you going to tell this little guy about how he was born?
He came at the wrong time. Still, they're the lucky ones, for now at least.
Any idea how long this is going to go on like this?
Until it ends. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
Until it ends.
I'm Jim Acosta reporting from Biloxi, Mississippi, 92 miles from New Orleans. After the state was knocked down by Hurricane Katrina, the state relief effort is just getting started tonight. Hundreds may be dead and thousands more are suffering. Help cannot come soon enough. 48 hours ago, people here in Biloxi wondered whether they would survive nature's fury.
You see the water just flowing in.
Today, residents are beginning to wonder whether they can cope with man's inability to deal with nature's fury.
And my wife's a diabetic, and this is the last little bit of our water that we got to our names.
With search teams clawing through miles of debris, Biloxi's number of dead may be rising into the hundreds. And what's left of this town is reaching the boiling point.
My mom's got diabetes and stuff like that, and she's getting in cold sweats and stuff at the house, and I'm getting worried to death.
The desperate have turned to looting. At some stores cracked open by Katrina, it's a free-for-all. At others, the police are accused of being the scavengers.
My wife's been sitting here since about 6:30 this morning, and we've been seeing the firemen and the police walk in this grocery store, getting their supplies, coats, water, whatever they need out of there, and seeing us sitting on the side, sitting there in this heat, not doing anything for us.
At this supermarket, the only way to get food is to wait for a bag to slide through a muddy hole in a door.
It's better than no food at all.
This looks like the only safe way to do it.
Food Giant stores giving out what's left of their stock to the public because most people haven't ate or drank in 3 days now, and they have no, I'm assuming they're doing it to keep their store from getting destroyed.
People are falling apart. The line at this Walmart snakes around to the back of the store.
We're thinking each day, one day we'll stand in line for gas, maybe one day for the water, one day for the ice. There's a line for everything.
As the day wore on, Biloxi started pulling together. For hundreds baking in the hot Mississippi sun, a fire truck brought relief.
Oh, that felt good, huh?
This baby finally got a cool bath. These hungry children got a hot meal at a shelter.
Fresh fruit, fresh pineapple, honeydew, cantaloupe.
And this local produce supplier showed us the warehouse full of food he's giving away.
You got salad mix, all different types of lettuces cut up, shred lettuce.
And you can feed how many people with this amount of food?
Good God, we could feed probably 40, 50,000 people.
With casino barges dragged ashore and bridges washed out, help may be slow in coming, but it is coming. What are your thoughts when you look at all of this devastation?
Well, I'm telling you, it's just it's total devastation for the city of Biloxi. And I have not had a chance to go all over them, but every place and every time I come out and go from point A to point B, I see more devastation. It's just unbelievable and catastrophic. And it's just something that we will be living with for a long time. We're going to have to live with it for a little while.
Biloxi's mayor wants his citizens to remember the magnitude of what happened here. We've seen countless residents just roaming the streets.
Listen, man, this will make you cry, you know. I've had people come up to me and say, Mayor, I don't have a house. What am I going to do?
This is Harry Smith in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. This is one of those picturesque southern towns hidden from the potential fury of the Gulf of Mexico by a tiny peninsula. But there was no hiding from the fury of Katrina. Steve and Maura Bodette came to Bay St. Louis just a few years ago. Here, they would build their dream home. Perfect place.
Perfect little spot.
Yeah.
It was our little paradise that we found.
It's plain to see now, paradise has its limitations. Virtually every waterfront home was wiped off its foundation.
We built it to survive a hurricane, and we didn't think we were going to see that sort of tidal surge. It was part of the discussion, but no one plans on this. We've been up a couple times already, so.
Your job brings you down here. You make a family decision. We're going to relocate here. We're going to come and do this thing in this place. And it's been this very special place for you for a couple of years. Is there some extra weight on your shoulders right now, saying, "How did I get us?"
That's all you think about initially. Is you know, what the dad does is provide and protect, and I brought him into the middle of this.
Maura may have to leave town with the kids to start school, but the Bodettes have a choice. Some people here have none. Keith and Josette Landry's home was destroyed in the storm. Everything they have is in these shopping carts. They're wandering the streets of Bay St. Louis looking for a place to stay. They said the shelter they were in was just too dangerous.
We got a little food and a little clothes, but we didn't feel safe enough to, you know, hold on to all this with everybody there fighting.
And with having our kids, it's not safe at all.
The fabric of humanity that holds us all together is fraying badly here. At a gas station in Gulfport, the wait for fuel was hours long. The need for basics is going unmet.
My sister just asked the ambulance that was sitting over there for oxygen, what do we do for my daddy with cancer? They said, we can't help you, and drove off.
They've finally started handing out free ice and water in some of these Mississippi towns that have been hard hit by Katrina. But frustration is growing. The tension is, in fact, palpable. And it's a sad note. The Bodettes, who you saw at the beginning of this piece, when they got into their house Tuesday, as soon as the storm was over, they had found that their house had already been looted as well. That fabric of humanity is tearing indeed.
I'm Mark Strassman in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 100 miles north of New Orleans, where the ripple effect of Katrina's wrath has spread miles inland.
Let's go! Back up, go north.
Mississippi's burning with anger and frustration.
Gotta get in line like everybody else.
5 gas stations had just gotten their power back when bedlam erupted. Hundreds of desperate motorists swarmed the pumps.
I've made the gas run for the neighborhood.
Like Elaine Goodman and Teresa Elwood.
This is getting ugly, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, and people are getting ugly.
No sooner had she said it than someone tried to jump their line.
See? That's ridiculous.
No, that's...
No. Excuse me, I'm going back around her. No, you're not.
That smell is panic. And no one has a nose for it like a cop.
How bad is this?
It's bad.
Yeah. What's what?
Hey! Get out of the way!
The only possible excuse is so many of these people have lost everything.
I mean, we can't get home. We don't know if it's underwater, if we lost everything.
Necessities for sale, gas, water, whatever, usually comes with limits to how much you can buy. But what's running out the fastest is people's patience.
Get right here. Get right here. Get right here. We put the push in right here.
Walgreens was one of the only stores open. Shoppers stood in line for 3 hours.
Right now, I have no bread. If anybody's waiting for bread, ice, we don't have any bread. We don't have any ice.
What are you looking for?
Bandages for my husband's cuts and bruises and my son's cuts and bruises because they've been crawling over trees.
But despite their frustration,
it's a mess, I'll tell you that much.
Many people here say things could have been a lot worse.
I'm just thankful that I'm here and I'm alive. My parents are alive. My mother lost her home, but she's okay, so I'm just thankful. On the highest and driest point in this beleaguered city, we found a makeshift neighborhood with horrors to tell.
They put us up here to die.
Within seconds of our arrival, Alfred Dorsey grabbed us by the arm and led us through a maze of human suffering.
There's trouble up here on this bridge for these people.
No, nothing to drink, eating nothing.
And all these little children and babies, man. You go down there, you're going to see nothing but people with little bit of babies. You're going to see old people sick, man. You know, we need help up here.
Deandra Simon certainly needed help. We found her sitting in her sweltering car and having pains. She's 9 months pregnant.
Do you think maybe you're going into labor?
Then there was Cynthia Scott, trying to shield her babies from the blazing sun, who pointed out something we wish she hadn't.
Look at this man down here. This man jumped to his death.
That's him, the body of a suicidal refugee underneath that cushion. People barely noticed him as they passed by.
I guess you think a death is better than this.
Everywhere we looked, another scene of human suffering.
Help us.
We need water.
We need water bad. But nothing is open. We need food, too.
This little girl is only 2 weeks old. Further down the interstate, we found the first of about a dozen people suffering from Alzheimer's.
How you doing? Are you okay?
They may not have understood what was happening, but their families did.
So what do you think is going to happen to your mom?
Probably die, don't you think?
It is a shanty town like no other. In fact, a couple of slats of wood, maybe even a couple of pieces of cardboard would actually be an improvement out here. These are the people that just couldn't make it to the New Orleans Superdome. It's actually just right over there, but to get there, these people would have to swim. We got there by truck, just in time to see the first evacuations of the sick and the elderly.
I've been on the kick machine in 4 days.
Inside, there were plenty more waiting to go, somewhere, anywhere. Hard to believe that these were actually the lucky ones, compared to those back out on that overpass.
I don't know what kind of damage my house had, but whatever it is, it can't be no worse than this. I'm going home, baby. They got to put me in jail or do whatever.
In true New Orleans fashion, there are those trying to keep spirits high. But in the Big Easy, nothing is easy anymore.
Though we try, it's difficult to fully explain for you the full scope of the devastation and the suffering here. People aren't even living hand to mouth because there is nothing to live on. All along Interstate 10, which is now the high ground, hundreds, thousands of people are just trying to survive in the baking Louisiana sun. Tiny babies, the elderly, the infirm, people who have lost everything, now wondering what's to become of them. It's the type of thing that you never expect to see in America. Stay tuned to this CBS station for full coverage of Hurricane Katrina. We'll have a full wrap-up for you tomorrow morning on The Early Show and again on the CBS Evening News. For 48 hours, I'm John Roberts in New Orleans. Good night.
I don't know, it takes my breath away.
Now, the despair.
Just so little that anything means something.
Hurricane Katrina has left a coastal catastrophe. New Orleans mayor says the death toll could rise into the thousands.
We are dealing with one of the worst natural disasters in our nation's history.
As water poured in from broken levees, crews struggled to evacuate the Superdome, and the Big Easy battled hard to keep from sinking out of sight.
There's just too much water all over the city. It's a nightmare.
In Mississippi, entire communities have been wiped off the map.
There's total devastation today, and it's just absolutely obliterated.
There's little food, water, or power.
We need gas, but we haven't eaten since yesterday. Our house is gone.
And there are fears a health crisis is on the horizon.
There's the possibility of diseases as severe as cholera.
But after the worst from nature, the best of human nature.
I thank God. I thank these guys, too.
Profiles in courage.
I got you.
You're all right.
I got you.
And remarkable stories of survival. The latest on battling back from Katrina's fury. A Dateline special. Reporting tonight from New Orleans, Brian Williams.
And good evening. In this sweltering heat in New Orleans, the more we learn about what this hurricane did, the worse it gets. The death toll tonight in the Hurricane Katrina catastrophe may very well reach into the thousands. It is growing, but we should stress it is still guesswork. The urgent concern is not counting the dead, not now, but saving the living. It is clear this disaster has changed this country. Navy ships, Army helicopters, the U.S. Coast Guard, the National Guard, this relief effort underway across the Gulf Coast is simply